Hello and welcome to the Pure GT Social Races round. They don't have rounds here. Okay, force of habit. We are at Brands Hatch GP, however, and we're in a new car as well. The Dallara F3 is the new challenge for these drivers. Now, Brands Hatch is is a difficult track at the best of times. It is never easy, contrary to what I just said. However, changing car halfway through a sort of a run of sessions, you could say, not really a championship, but a run of sessions. Normally they're racing in the GT3 Ferrari, however, today they're in the Dallara F3. I can tell you that the Dallara F3 is not a particularly easy car to drive either, and contact really is sort of, I suppose, been made bigger thanks to the fact that close racing, open wheel racing is certainly something that is not easy to do, and you will see that probably throughout the rest of the evening. We're about to jump into qualifying, so without further ado, let's shoot you over to the action and see who's cracking. We have a couple of new drivers, a couple of drivers missing out, I'm guessing because they didn't have the car. With iRacing, you have to buy the car separately, but we'll go over that in a couple of minutes' time. But we'll shoot you over towards the track. So, who have we got then tonight? Anthony Mott is a driver who maybe we haven't seen before too much. In fact, I know we haven't seen before, but we do have a few other drivers. Here we go, a few new liveries to get used to as well, thanks to the fact that we are, of course, on new cars. We are now, obviously, on a new livery. So, Matt Emmons, thank you very much for liking on the stream. And Rick Tavort, who liked it all 10 minutes ago as well. So, he's been sat waiting for quite some time. So, this is Paul Wafers. Get up, and I'm just going to make sure that we are got all the setups up to date as well. So if there is any different liveries appearing on the screen, then I do apologise. But just for your information, if you didn't catch it quite before, we are of course broadcasting the Pure GT Social Races here. This is Brands Hatch GP, one of the most famous tracks in the world. Not just in Europe or even in Britain even. So I'm sure these guys will have probably raced on it before now, and will be hopefully getting used to the fact that we are obviously on the GP loop rather than the Indy circuit. The Indy circuit is quite often the one that's getting used for sort of small, sharp action for like the MX-5s, but of course the GP nearly always makes an appearance at some point. A full track length of about 4 kilometres. Means that we've got plenty of action, plenty of thrills and spills on the way, I'm sure you'll agree. A lot of the drivers who we were mentioning before are back out again, and one of which we can start bringing you. Hi Jack, how are we doing? I can't handle this, Dallas. I'm guessing the Dallara is what you meant there. I've never tried to drive the Dallara, I'll be honest, so it's going to be very interesting to see how they crack on. Already started to see some of the drivers putting in some lap times now, though, one of which is John Westbrook. He's in second place, behind Matt Dickens. Now, as I said, a few of the liveries will hopefully start popping into play, but we're keeping on what is a very Aston Martin themed Dallara here, and I think that is very much reminiscent of the new Aston Martin Racing F1 car. And I have to say, John Westbrook is rocking the colours very nicely indeed, and in fact, he goes and puts it on pole position for good measure, doesn't he? It's a good time being shown at the moment with 1:17.3. Matt Dickens lagging behind, 5 seconds behind. Of course, most of these drivers haven't yet put a fast lap in. It's just John Westbrook who has put that flying lap in at the moment. There you go, Mark Hoskins. Nick Phelps already started to put some times in that are a touch closer. About half the field haven't yet actually set a clean lap time. Alec Westbrook, a driver who we were very close to getting a race win, I believe, last time out at Spa. He's got a slightly different looking Aston Martin. He's got a slightly different looking Dallara F3, hasn't he? He's not gone Aston Martin colours. In fact, I think it's Tom Jerry, but in bright pink, which I quite like the look of. I don't know about you. Good luck, everyone. We'll join the next one, says Havanas. Oh, Havanas, you're not joining us this week. That's a shame. Nice to have you in the chat, though. Do let us know why you're not joining in. If it's because of the car, then that's a high potential. James Kell, then. He is a race... Well, I don't think he won a race last time out, did he? However, he came very close. He was very quick. And I have to say, the livery's not standing out tonight, James. It's looking all right. I mean, it's quite sharp. But when you compare it to a few of the other machines that we got on the track, I'm guessing a lot of drivers are going for F1 themes. It almost looks like a McLaren just up ahead of him, doesn't it? Barry Rabbit sticking in the absolute flying time here. Now, he's in a more traditionally green Dallara as well. However, I'm sure that is probably normally Barry has his company name on the side of it. So we'll see if we can find out what it's... there we go. Slightly closer. This is a 7-Up liveried car, isn't it? With the tic-tac and denim on the side of the car. Is that anything to do with maybe his real-life car? Maybe it's similar to what he runs normally. And hello, back at it again is the DeLonghi driver of Chris Knox, a driver who often organises this league, and with the first one into the 1 minute 16.8, so I'm sure it won't be the last one either. Clive Bailey actually has put himself up to second position in the Red Bull liveried car. Now it's not that hard to figure out where that inspiration comes from, is it? And the F3 looking rather dapper in the Red Bull looking car as well. What's Kevin McGlone rocking then? Because normally he's in a purple machine, but today he's rocking Michelin. Michelin and Renault by the looks of it. And again, these drivers, you know, changing up the liveries. We're going to have to keep an eye on this because obviously it makes my job a little bit harder. With if we get used to a certain type of livery, we can start calling drivers out. But as soon as they start putting some new fresh paints on, however good it looks, it does mean that all our notes go out the window, especially if I haven't seen them before. I'm just looking for one of the drivers that we had a look at before. In fact, Anthony Mott, there we go. Now, he was on top of the timing tower in practice. So keep an eye out for this car. I'm not really sure. It's got a grey and sort of a baby blue, potentially. Oh, it's an Excite car. It's an Excite car. Of course it is. So, oh, well, if nobody is familiar with the Excite machinery, well, they are an esports racing team. And I've been lucky enough to broadcast quite a few races with them involved. I didn't expect them to be turning up tonight, though, as we've had a couple of incidents out of the left-hander there, the penultimate corner as we go into Clark's. But the Excite driver of Anthony Mott has joined us this evening, and let's see how he gets on. Does he improve? He was top in practice, like I mentioned. It should be a slight improvement, potentially. No, not quite. He stays in 8th place, maybe a time disallowed there. John Westbrook now goes into 3rd place, but Barry Rabbit comes across the line and straight into the back of him. And, well, whether Barry wanted his lap time finished, or, wanted to go on to a second lap run or not, he didn't really get much of a question about it. And he went straight into the back of John Westbrook, and Alec Westbrook actually just pipped him as well. So as we're starting to look at Chris Knox, who still leads the field, he's actually in a little bit of a clump of cars. As he sees one of the cars go off straight ahead of him and another one going off straight behind him, and Chris Knox comes out unscathed to set a new lap time. It doesn't look like it's going to be an improvement. No, it isn't. In fact, it's nearly, well, it's 1.1 seconds off, and that could be the reason why we're seeing a lot of drivers stop at the top of Paddock Hill Bend is because they're wanting to strap on some new boots. And, well, the top 6 are now in the 116s, and it's incredibly close between them as well. For instance, between the two Westbrooks, it's 0.06 of a second. And between Bailey and Kell, actually, it's 700ths, even though Bailey is actually in the 17s. He's just as close to Kell as everybody else is. Barry Rabbit to Chris Knox, for instance. Knox actually going right down in the early 16s, isn't he, in that 1 minute 16.2. And we're just waiting for new drivers to start putting on their boots. As we see Anthony Mott just wedging himself between Bailey and Kell. 0.02 of a second ahead of Bailey, 0.05 of a second behind Kell. So that is just how close we're going to be dealing with this stuff tonight. And it's incredibly impressive, to be honest, because Brands Hatch GP in a new car is a famously difficult recipe to try and muster up and get a lap time out of it. But clearly these guys have put enough practice in to maybe get their heads down. What can Andy Montgomery do now as he goes through Sheen Curve and through Sterling's? I might have got them wrong, actually. I might get them mixed up. I always do mix those two up somehow. Well, it's not that difficult to assume why. They're quite similarly named, as Montgomery looks all the way to the outside of the track to keep it within track limits, but then running all the way down to the line. He doesn't go down narrow, does he? He's almost like he's setting up a next flying lap, and in fact, I don't think he did improve. In fact, I think he was actually disqualified for track limits. Maybe that is why he didn't go tucked down for the shorter line. He went for the sort of almost setting up the next next lap as we're on board with him here. Nice little touch to the outside there, and doesn't run too wide, luckily. I think that may be where a couple of these drivers are getting track limit abuse, is on the outside of Graham Hill Bend. As they come through Surtees now and down towards the back GP stretch. I believe this is called Hawthorns after the dip. Pitch into the right, only lifting off in these cars, I believe. Don't even, can't quite do it flat, but don't need a sharp brake. As Montgomery heads now towards what is a pretty tricky section in an open wheel car, to be honest. In a lot of GT cars, you can sort of muller the inside curves and not really feel it at all. In fact, probably argue it's a better line, but in these slightly more tentative open wheel races, it's a little bit more difficult than that, and they're slightly more sensitive. You don't want to end up spinning off and hitting too many curbs. We're on board with Andy because he's setting green sectors all the way around, and everybody else seems to be in the pit. I think that's because actually they only have a certain amount of lap times, and I believe that's actually what Andy Montgomery is doing. He's already set his lap time, so he's not allowed to set any more. But he's just out there for what I assume is the next 5 minutes, just trying to practice. I dearly hope someone lets him know that he can stop and we can get straight on into the race if he does such a thing. Paul Wafer is out there at the moment doing a similar thing as well in the sort of cow-looking car. And in fact, I thought we were about to jump into the next session. Well, we can jump into the next session, hopefully, as soon as these guys come into the pits, which with any luck they'll be doing right about now for Paul Wafer's sake anyway. As he goes through Clark Curve, and it looks like he's starting to set another lap, so I'll have to have a word because it does make the broadcast slightly more drawn out. So anybody wondering, we are obviously, everybody's joining late basically doing the Pure GT social races. We're obviously at Brands Hatch GP as we're watching Paul Wafer go through oh my god, Druid. I can't believe I just forgot that. I was looking at something else, but as we cut to the pit lane, well, we'll have a little bit of a chat. I do hope everybody is tuning in to cheer on their favourite drivers. Do let us know who your favourite driver is, and we'll hopefully be able to give them a little bit of a shout out, and you a shout out obviously in the chat as well. I do hope, obviously, the blustery winds for anybody in the UK isn't affecting anything either. I mean, I don't know if you guys can hear, hopefully not. But my window is getting buffeted right now, which obviously isn't very ideal. Hopefully, we won't get any disturbances throughout the rest of the race and the rest of the evening. But if anybody out there is watching who is involved in the racing, if you could let Paul Wafer know that we're all bar done, just waiting on him as he comes around. And finishes his practice lap up. With the looks of it, Christian Wafer has got a rather smart AlphaTauri looking livery, and well, I know that because he's been putting it in the YouTube, in the Discord chat, which is looking very nice indeed, the AlphaTauri. So obviously mixing it, taking inspiration from the Red Bulls and the new liveries that are getting announced every single day, pretty much. It feels like that anyway for the F1 calendar. I'm sure everybody's relatively looking forward to the F1. It's a bit Marmite these days, whether everybody follows it or not, but I'm sure it's getting everyone excited. And while we wait just for Paul Wafer, I think we've got 2 minutes spare. What I'm going to do is cut to a quick sort of music break, and I'll be back as soon as we're ready. And we should be going into the race 1 here tonight. Hopefully everybody's gridding up. So, as you can see on your screen, Chris Knox qualified on pole position with Barry Rabbit in 2nd place. Alec Westbrook is leading the Westbrook fight. He's in 3rd place. John in 4th. Martin Thomas in 5th with James Kell in 6th place. And then we have 7th place Anthony Mott, new to the championship, with Clive Bailey in 8th. Richard Abra and Matt Dickens ran out the top 10 with Phelps and Hoskin 11th and 12th. 13th down is White, Montgomery, McGlone, Tucker, Wafer, Harrison, Wafer, Hayes, Hunt, Black, Newell and Martin. And then last but not least, right at the back of the field, is Albert Vea. So there are your drivers. And you can see them starting to line up on the grid as well. A whole sea of new liveries to get your head round. Hopefully we'll see the same fantastic racing that we're used to here at the Pure GT Social Races. Any minute now we'll be getting going. I think we're just waiting for 1 or 2 drivers, Albert Vea and Chris Knox, to join in on the party. Obviously, it would be preferable to have our pole sitter, Chris, in the actual race. And remember, this is Heat 1, a 15-minute race, followed immediately by another 15-minute race. And there we go. Chris Knox has now spawned onto the grid. So with any luck, the lights will start coming on. There we go. Engine notes rise and the lights coming on. 4, 5, and we will be racing here for the first time. It's a huge amount of wheel spin by Martin Thomas by the looks of it. And in fact, no, it's Anthony Mott. Matt Dickens has fallen down. There's already a spinner at Paddock Hill. I think there was a huge incident before that. We'll have to try and catch up with that. But Chris Knox gets away well in 1st place. Alec Westbrook in 2nd, with John Westbrook leading the top 3, following out the top 3. Nick Phelps is getting 7 positions up to 4th place. So that shows you what kind of massive incident we had behind. Mark White rounds out your top 5 in 5th place in the McLaren-looking Dallara F3 by the looks of it. But we had an awful lot of crashes. In fact, from 12th down to 25th, every single driver is in the pits. Which is why maybe you'll start seeing them grade out. Potentially a few drivers will jump to the top of the timing tower. But you can see on the track map the disparity and all those dots. Oh, Mark White might be joining them as he heads towards the tyre wall. Oh, and he's screwed the rear suspension up by the looks of it, although it's just spawned back on. A little bit of a realism bug there, I think. But he may well be joining a whole host of drivers who are in the pits. And in fact, we can have a look at everyone in the pits now. Yeah, there we go. A panned shot of everybody in the pits. However, it is Chris Knox launching himself past the pit lane and towards Paddock Hill Bend. Still in the lead of this race with Alec Westbrook hunkered up nicely behind. And as I said before, the Dallara is not an easy car to drive. Matt Emmons has already jumped in the chat and said that he can't handle the Dallara. And Matt is an experienced iRace, trust you me. So, an interesting choice of car. The fact that they went for something slightly different. Just by fluke, the fact that I had it in the roster, to be honest. Otherwise, I wouldn't have been able to spectate. John Newell, he's in 6th place, but he's gained 17 positions, which is quite something. And I think, to be honest, a majority of this race is actually going to be figuring out what on earth happened. So, let's have a look at James Kell now. And we may help. So, Kell, I think he gets bogged down slightly, but as they're already crashing everywhere. It's not just one incident, there's 4 or 5 incidents going on there, isn't there? And we're going to have to slow that right down, aren't we? So we go back to green flag. We'll try and go on board. So James Kell, puff of smoke in front of him, and a car just spinning the rear wheels that meant that he had nowhere to go. He couldn't go right, he couldn't go left. He goes straight into the back of him, and that's caused 1 incident already. And I think that was Barry Rabbit, and then he gets caught, and another his wheel falls off, and then there's just more carnage left, right, and centre. Let's have a look and see if we can see what happened to Barry Rabbit. Now, he's the one that actually spanned the wheels up, isn't he? And James Kell's about to fly into the back of him. The 7-up car not getting away, still not getting the power down nicely. And he was actually wheel spinning all the way up until the point where he actually crashed out. Another driver that was involved in that incident is Clive Bailey, although he jumps to the inside, doesn't he? It's the Barry Rabbit. There we go. So he was the inside of Kell, and then he gets tagged around, and then he gets turned into as well. So, I mean, there's a lot to dissect there, but it looks like James Kell is back up and running. So we'll keep an eye and see if everybody should have had their fast repair, to be honest. I'll be amazed if they don't have a fast repair in this championship. But James now going for yet again another recovery drive. He had to do it at Spa earlier, well, last week. And he's going to have to do it again at Brands Hatch now, unfortunately, because I lost to him. I know exactly how quick James Kell is around Brands Hatch GP. And in fact, he pipped me to 3rd place in the championship. However, that's not going to help him. And yeah, that's definitely got to help him. And let's go straight to bits. And this is what I was saying before, to be honest. Dallara is a difficult car to drive. It's even more difficult to race because open wheel races, going from a GT3 car, and these drivers are not very experienced in the GT3 car as it happens in the Ferrari either. Going from that style of racing where we saw a lot of contact straight into this sort of open wheel nature of track, open wheel nature of racing, all of a sudden small amounts of contact, small racing incidents become a huge accident. So it's not just getting the car around quickly. That is a challenge when you jump into something new like this F3 car. But it is also trying to race them wheel to wheel without having incidents come up left, right and centre as well. So that's the difficulty we've got going on. But currently you're watching Chris Knox, who's leading the way quite nicely from Alec Westbrook. Nick Phelps in 3rd position, which means we've had an incident with John Westbrook, who's all the way down in 15th place. And we'll see if we can find out what's happened to John Westbrook. He had to go into the pit, so I'm not sure why. Was he the incident with James Kell? No, he wasn't, no. So, an awful lot. So, John Westbrook went off track here by the looks of it. So, oh, he just went straight into the back of one of the drivers into Clark Curve, didn't he? And that was an early bath for him, shall we say. He's gone into the pits. Now, it's Anthony Mott he actually made contact with, the new driver for the championship. So Anthony Mott is still in the pits, I believe. And also John Westbrook in 8th place now after coming into the pits. So that just shows how long everybody else had to be in the pits for. So clearly I don't think they do have a fast repair in this championship, which, as I said before, is slightly astounding, to be honest, considering with the amount of contact that we've seen at the likes of the Long Beach and stuff like that. But yeah, we're here. Let's get on with what we've got. Matt Dickens has had an incident. Is that coming out of Druids or going into Graham Hill by the looks of it? It's going into Graham Hill, and in fact, I don't think... Oh, no, I was about to say, I don't think it was much of an incident, but that is an absolutely massive incident. And actually, it is exactly what happened to me at Brands Hatch GP when we were racing in the Ginetta Super Cup car as one driver decided to do donuts in the pit lane. That didn't happen to me. That's unfortunately exactly the same incident as I had, but I was in the wet, and that is actually, as I said, what gave basically James didn't really even have to fight for it in the end. 3rd place in the AM Championship of the Ginetta G55 Super Cup, because I ended up just going straight into a wall. It's a bit of a shame. I think even he'll admit I was catching that race, which is a bit of a shame, but you know, each their own. We live and learn, don't we? As here's a little bit of a close battle with Paul Wafer trying to catch up to, this is Andy Montgomery out on circuit for track position. Now it's Richard Abra in the car behind, the Ferrari looking livery behind. Well, actually, that's a bit more like Alfa Romeo, to be honest. But that he is in 19th position, so don't expect him, if he does overtake Wafer, it won't be for any kind of position. It'll actually be, I think, unlapping himself. As a car comes out of the pits and parks himself on the apex of Paddock Hill Bend. Now, I think Wafer was expecting a launch up the inside from Abra there, and to be honest, when you're not, you don't have any fights around you, you might as well start having fights, even if it isn't technically for overall position. Oh no, I think we've had an incident for White. In fact, White is in the pit lane, and there's a crash between Richard Abra. Oh no, and they're both off the circuit, and like I said, open wheel, difficult. And as I said, I think these guys are going to need some more fast repairs, to be honest. So, John Newell and Mark Hoskin, actually, is the closest battle we have out there on circuit, as we have just tipped over the halfway stage for this race. Obviously, we do have 3 races this evening, if anybody is wondering. You had the first one here, 15-minute sprint race, followed by another 15-minute sprint race, which is, basically straight after this one. The guys don't even get a chance to come into the pits, and we don't really even get a chance to bring up the race results either before they're gridding for the second race of the evening. Then we're straight into a 10-15 minute sort of warm-up period where we get to go through a few of the results that we've seen, look back at a few of the incidents potentially, have a chat to a couple of the drivers, and then we go into the third race as well. So there is 3 races in the evening, all 15 minutes. Second race is the top 6 reverse. Oh my days, sorry, there's a big incident at the front of the field, and that is Chris Knox, who's currently sat on the outside of Sterling's. Really don't know how he's got that one parked there. And, well, let's see if we can find out. There's a big incident there, to be honest, for the leading driver, Chris Knox. Now, we can see that he went off track here. Is it just a case of touching the outside? Oh, no, there's a driver spinning off. And oh, my days. Yeah, that is the last thing you want to see as you come through that corner is a driver who's just parked, spinning up the wheels in the middle of the road, straight onto what would be the racing line. There was no way of Chris predicting what would happen there, and that has gifted Alec Westbrook the lead in the Tom and Jerry car. I want to have a bit closer look at this Tom and Jerry car. Look at it as it comes past here. It's looking really rather fresh, I think. A nice change. If anybody is a fan of Tom and Jerry, will appreciate that one, I'm sure. Christian Wafers in the pits again. And we'll be able to see he went off track here in the Alpha Tauri car. Oh, going around the outside of Surtees and straight into a tyre wall. We didn't get a chance to actually see it, but there is his car mangled in pieces, and he tows himself back to the pits. And of course, these guys might actually have fast repairs. However, you can't be towed back to the pits and not get away with it, basically. If you have to tow back in because your car is too total to drive back in, you do get a penalty for that as well. So you get a towing penalty of about 30 seconds. It depends how far away you are out on track. If you're by the last corner, I think it's shorter than if you're just past the pit lane, for instance. So that is a bit of a shame. So Chris Knox actually on his last time around set the fastest lap of the race and then ended up in the pit wall, so in the pit lane. David Harrison has had a few crashes. Now, now that's not looking very tidy, is it? The Falcon car. See if we can get a bit of a better... In fact, no, he's still off track there. So David Harrison has been off track with this incident for a fair old while. I think I know what's going to happen here. He's going to come out of Druids, go into Graham... Oh, no, I'm wrong. I'm completely wrong. He's going into Druids and goes straight on, locks the wheels, and heads straight into a tyre wall. Bit of a shame. So who we got at the top then? It's Alec Westbrook. Nick Phelps gaining 9 positions up to second place. But if you think that's impressive, John Newell, who is on the lead lap. It doesn't say he's on the lead lap on my timing tower there, but trust me, he is. John Newell has gained 20 positions in total to get himself up to third place. However, the driver behind him, in fact, is actually Martin Thomas. Directly behind him on track is Martin Thomas in 8th position. So even if Newell ends up getting overtaken here, all goes on the circuit like that, come back on. John, don't ruin all your hard work. And he comes back on. We got 3 minutes to go. Still in third place, because on the battle box on the bottom right hand side of the screen, you can see that Thomas is actually in 8th place, and this will, even if he does overtake the pink car, there will be absolutely no position gain. Everything else has calmed down somewhat. It's because we've got a lot of drivers who are not anywhere near each other for track position. So, yeah, we have a lot of drivers. Sorry, not anywhere for sort of overall positions. There's lots of track positions battle going on, but we can't see too many of them. So we'll have a look and maybe do a run through of sort of protagonists, shall we say, the drivers that we were expecting to be strong here tonight. And well, one of them, no getting away from it, was our pole position man, Chris Knox, who is in the pit lane, I believe. So that's why we can't see him. Kevin McGlone, always a driver popular in the chat. If you're here to support Kevin McGlone, give him a shout out. He's not... He probably could do with a little bit of sympathy. He's all the way down in 19th place, which we know is not where Kevin likes to be. John Westbrook then in the Aston Martin liveried car. Oh, actually, sorry, I'll come back to him because Barry Rabbit is actually in a fight with Mike Tucker for a position, and that is Barry Rabbit going into 6th position. So he's overtaken Tucker, and that is him now about 18 seconds off top 5, to be fair. So it's not like he's going to be catching him anytime soon, but an overtake there for position. And Barry is actually one of the drivers we like to keep an eye on, actually. So it's quite nice that we cut to him so quickly. John Westbrook in the Aston Martin car, trying to channel his inner Sebastian Vettel. After an earlier off, he's trying to recovery drive the story of Vettel's 2020, I believe. Who else have we got knocking around? Now, there was a new driver in Anthony Mott in the Excite Dallara F3 car, and this is for track position as well. Now, Anthony is a very quick driver. We are on the last lap of the race as well, by the way, so we'll try and keep an eye on Alec Westbrook's progression through the final lap. But at the moment, we're looking at Anthony Mott because this is a track position battle here. Now, it's actually 13th, 12th, and 11th. So Anthony could well go ahead up the inside of Graham Hill with the driver lagging out ahead of him. He gets that done and dusted nice and cleanly, to be honest. I wasn't expecting that so clean with the fact that one of the drivers, I think it's Paul Black, just keeps lagging in and out of existence. And that is one of the problems that we have with online racing. Sometimes connections can let us down. Now he's hunting down Max Hunt, and that was a pun that I do usually say and do usually mean. But to be fair, that time, it was a slip of the tongue. Westbrook still pushing the edges of what's possible here, even though he's on the final lap, and we've got 12.2 seconds gap between himself and second place as we just start to tip over towards the 15 minutes. So this is the final lap of the race. We had the white flag out and ready to go. Going in towards Clark Curve for the final time, it's going to be Alec Westbrook to take the checkered flag here at Rantash GP for the first of 3 Pure GT social races in the new Dallara. Nick Phelps looks like he's coming across the line nicely in second place, gaining 9 positions in total to take that checkered flag in second. And then 30 odd seconds behind is a driver who's not even within the last 3 corners of the circuit. That's how spaced out these guys are at the moment. It's John Newell. Now, Mark Hoskins actually 2.5 seconds back. So it's pretty good going by John to keep the pace up and to keep ahead of Mark Hoskin, even though Nick Phelps and Alec Westbrook ahead were good 2 seconds quicker than John Newell. So as John is starting to come across the line, you can then see him taking the final podium position, with Mark Hoskin coming across the line in 4th place. John Westbrook is a driver who's already crossed the line and finished in 5th overall. So hopefully, as soon as we got all the drivers coming across the line, we'll be able to bring you the race results as soon as possible. I hope you enjoyed it. That's the first of 2 races. And I don't believe, actually, we'll be able to bring you the race results because these guys grid up immediately. There is no messing about. There is no messing about here, the Pure GT social races. They basically do half-hour back-to-back. 15-minute races back-to-back. A whole half-hour straight in. And then they have a 10-15 minute break as they go in towards the third race of the evening. But you can already see the drivers starting to grid up. And we will start to get ourselves ready for the second race of the evening. Barry Rabbit, I'm sure he'll be sat on pole position, probably thinking to himself, I don't want to spin the rear tyres up quite so much that I did in the first race. Bonkers, says Damo. Bonkers indeed, and I believe we're probably going to see a similar story here, to be honest. As I said, a few drivers praying that they don't end up spinning the rear wheels up as much as they did and causing such a big accident, because that is the last thing we need here in the second race. We'd like a little bit more on-track action to talk about, a little bit more spectator-friendly racing, shall we say, rather than a few crashes. Just waiting for Michael Tucker, which is the car that you can, well, the gap you can see. And as he spawns onto the grid, the lights have come on as well, as we see a car, Paul Black, lagging in and out, but it's Barry Rabbit who's raised the noise, and he's away, and it's a much more composed start by Barry Rabbit, but John Westbrook has really put the power down, and he's trying to go around the outside. However, Barry has fought him off. James Keller's involved with another crash, as well as Matt Dickens, and there is more drivers getting messed up in the background by the looks of it. The top 6 have got away cleanly. Remember, this is a top 6 reverse grid. John Newell actually is probably the top of those sort of drivers that got away clean. So the top 5. Chris Knox has gained 16 positions into 6th place. So, yeah, you can see that there has been an absolutely huge incident. And already 13th back, so not quite as big as the first... well, we didn't even get to the first corner. First straight incident as race 1. But it's still a pretty big one. 13th down to 25th. All in the pits at the moment. So let's have a look and see what happened on that green flag then, shall we? Let's have a look from the perspective of Chris Knox's onboard. Now, he gained 16 positions. So let's just slow it right down. Already cars flying in the air. Fantastic reactions from Chris to miss that one. He's got a car trying to slide into the side of him there. It's almost like it's an action movie right now, isn't it, from Chris Knox's point of view? He tries to come back on the circuit, not knowing what he's even going to come back onto. A wheel flying from him on the left, a pink car flying from the right. There's another incident going on to his left as well, and to be honest, if I was Chris Knox, I'd probably be buying a lottery ticket right now, because how on earth he got through all of that? It's still not finished as he heads towards Paddock Hill. And is that, oh my days, it looks like a Ferrari going to be parked on the apex, but Chris Knox mounts the curve to make sure he's cleared as much as possible. This is Richard Abra's point of view. Now, let's have a look at his perspective as they fly into the green flag. Sorry, I just took us away from it slightly there, but this is Richard Abra, who we know is quite a handy driver, and maybe struggling slightly with these Dallaras. Oh, yeah, so he's struggling. Yeah, he gets a massive amount of wheel spin, still wheel spinning. Then there's just chaos ahead of him, and then it says he crashed, so I'm not really sure what happened there. What I do know is that Barry Rabbit is currently in the race lead in the 7-Up car, so although he had a shocking start in the first race, he's had a much better one in the second, and John Westbrook has maintained his second position as well. There's been more crashes all over the place, so we'll have a look at Alex Martin. Oh, and is that a reverse gear you're going to have to select? Yeah, it is, which these cars, it's basically a car park, isn't it? So as I said, Barry Rabbit leading the way, John Westbrook in second place. Now, oh, that's a very, very far line to be taking there, and I was about to say that Barry's really pulled away from John, but all of a sudden, it's gone the other way, hasn't it? As Barry went far too wide into Graham Hill Bend. Oh, I seem to be forgetting all the names here at Brands Hatch GP tonight for some reason. They go towards Hawthorns. I do know that one. It looks like Barry gets a nice tight run through there. It's one of the most important corners on the circuit, to be honest, because it really sets you up for the back end of the GP, doesn't it? I mean, Surtees, you would probably argue is the most important corner on the circuit, because you are then onto the longest straight available to us here at Brands Hatch GP, although you can probably not even call it much of a straight, as there's a few kinks and a few bumps as well along the way. But it is the longest flat-out section that we've got available to us, so you could argue it's probably the most important. However, Brands Hatch GP, a challenging circuit for a number of reasons, not least of which is the fact that it's not like any other circuit in the world. You couldn't possibly pick one of these corners up and say, yeah, that is exactly the same as another corner at any other circuit in the world. You know, Graham Hill, which we're coming up to now, you have to approach it with a nice wide line, but you can't get over there too quickly and straighten the car because it ruins you. Run out of Druids the corner before. And then also it slightly looks like it could be an overtaking opportunity, but it's not to be. Surtees is a really late apex. It looks like you should turn in quite early, but it's not the case, and then you go all the way down towards the GP loop here. They're actually on board with Barry Rabbit. A lift off, maybe a change down of the gear for a few drivers and through Hawthorns now, and this is a flat sort of right-hander. I say flat, I mean don't mean as in throttle control. I mean it's probably the only corner that hasn't got any kind of undulation around it. As we now go towards Sterling's, another cambered in corner, spits himself back out and down towards Clark Curves. Again, a really difficult corner this, because you sort of take the apex and then you run really wide, but you continue turning all the way on to what, you know, is a start-finish area. Couldn't even say a start-finish straight. Neil Crave, thank you very much for the like, Neil. I haven't actually covered a series with you in it for a while, so thank you for tuning in. Christian Wafer's been involved in an incident by the looks of it. The AlphaTauri. Oh, yeah, that's an easy one to do. It's an easy one to do. Did he get back? Does he get it back on, or does he kiss the wall? He doesn't kiss the wall. Oh, get yourself out of the way. Yes, he does well. He reverses and guns it. Does he get cleanly going? I tell you what, one of the luckiest men going. Not one. Well, yeah. Well said, Jack. What happened there? So he spins the wheels up, and I was about to say he gets away with it, but he doesn't. I think that's Mark White he made contact with in the end, and to be fair, he did go back onto the racing line, didn't he? So a little bit of race etiquette maybe to be learned still by a few of these drivers. Oh, who's that got off? Oh, my days. Oh, it's more contact with Christian Wafer, and I'm not sure who actually was involved in that one. I think it was Mike Tucker. I think it was Mike Tucker, actually. So let's have a look at what happened to him here. Oh, no. Oh, that's a big move up the inside. That was not going... I don't know what's happening ahead. In fact, there might be Alex Martin into Druid. So it looks like Alex Martin and Nick Phelps as they head towards Druid. Is Nick Phelps looking up the inside, Alex Martin trying to cover it off, and in the end they sort of merge together, and it's well, it's a bit of an odd one, to be honest. I want to know what's happened to Chris Knox, because he's fallen well down the order. He was in 6th place. Going through Surtees, he just goes straight off, and, well, that's not that dramatic. I thought he was going to end up hitting the wall, and he doesn't, so I'll keep looking and see what happened to Chris Knox. If we can't see anything, then we'll just go straight back to the racing. There's another earlier incident here with Chris Knox. Now he's hunkered up to the backside of, I think, Adam Hayes, and he just goes straight off on the GP loop. That's the one that we were looking for. I don't know why that hasn't registered as a crash, but it's straight into the wall, and that is why he is not running in 6th. Well, he is running in 6th place actually at the moment, but he looks like he's got a flat tyre, a lack of a tyre, and he's going straight on. So there's just carnage everywhere you look here tonight. There is a fight that's going out on the circuit for actual overall race position as well. David Harrison and Andy Montgomery, 18th and 17th respectively, fighting for the top 17. And look at that, Montgomery going defensive already. Sorry, Harrison going defensive already. Or was it to let Montgomery pass? I'm not entirely sure. It didn't look like much of a fight in the end. Almost looked like he was coming off the throttle. Now Alex Martin, yeah, that's not looking fresh, is it? They try to get round back to the pits without a red tyre. I have a feeling Alex is trying to get all the cut on the entirety of the GP loop and limp their way back to the pits. Well, they ended up just stopping and spawning back. So realistically, the only drivers who haven't had too many drivers, I say that, John Westbrook's just gone wide and lost out to Barry Rabbit by a good couple of seconds. By the looks of it, and I was about to say the only drivers that haven't had any dramas so far is Barry Rabbit in the lead of this race, and John Westbrook in 2nd place. However, obviously there was a little bit of drama still. Another battle for track position is Kevin McGlone. I know he's popular on the chat normally. And Adam Hayes. Now, Adam Hayes is in 9th place. And is he going to be defending here from Kevin McGlone? It's going to be a brave one. It's always a brave one to go into Hawthorne's up the inside. It's not happening this time around for the Michelin-looking car, as the driver looked like he was off the circuit there on the outside of Hawthorne. Going through into the first of a series of right-handers now, and by the looks of it, still Hayes is looking like they're defending. Clive Bailey's in the pits. Something's happened to them. He's in 6th place. He was in 6th place. Well, he is in 6th place. But I imagine a few drivers will probably end up overtaking him. Anthony Mott is in 7th, and he's probably quite pleased that he's having a little bit of a better race than he did last time out. Although I'm sure he'll be pretty disappointed in the fact that he didn't actually get a better run in the first race. Remember, there is a 3rd race of the evening where hopefully we can get a little bit more clean running, green lap running, shall we say. And everyone can sort of calm down a bit with their moves and maybe even get to the first corner, which should be a nice one. Because I think both races so far, at least half the grid has ended up in the pits before we even get to the first corner. So it's just people wheels spinning up and ended up obviously sideways and crashing into each other, which is not what we like to see. So let's go on the board hash with a shot of Kevin McGlone as he's trying to chase down Adam Hayes. Now we've only got a couple of minutes left in this race. Nice dive into the corner there as he tries to now hunker up to the back, but he doesn't take as much curb there as Anthony. Now I was theorising that maybe, I'll tell you what, Anthony Mott is that's Anthony Mott, the driver ahead. So all of a sudden, this is a three-way fight for 6th place. And I'm sure Kevin McGlone will want to be getting this done and dusted sooner rather than later so he can then start attacking the new boy in Mott. Looking at the inside of Clark Curve there, he's scupping his run, and look at this, Mott is really struggling. Maybe he has a little bit of damage on the front end as he's trying to defend towards Baddigill. In fact, he's not really even trying to defend that much. Kevin McGlone goes straight through. Oh, Adam Hayes going really deep into the corner before that, flicking the car in for the turn in the paddock hill. Oh, he's late on the brakes in Druids and going for a late apex. Kevin McGlone maybe getting a little bit keen on the power there. He could have really tucked the front nose in to go for a late apex, which really would have put an awful lot of pressure on, really straightened the exit out for him. I'll tell you what do I know? Because at the moment, he's hunkered right up to the back of him, and I think this may well be, there we go, there's the late apex I was talking about, to try and get a good run on Hayes. Now, the two drivers ahead of them is actually Wafer and Bailey, so not actually, well, Bailey's involved, but Wafer isn't. Hawthorne's, oh, he was lucky there. Who is that who's parked on? That's Martin. Parked on the apex of Hawthorne's. Now, McGlone was looking at the inside, but here we go. A fantastic run here and a poor run from Hayes as he had nowhere to go. Oh, they almost check into each other. This is the sort of action that we were hoping for. Where's this been all evening? Going towards Sterling's now, tucked in behind. I thought there was a huge opportunity. I thought maybe McGlone probably decided that it was going to be, you know, better to just run safe through the rest of this race, and there was a slide at the inside because he definitely had the run, and Alex Martin's just lighting up the timing tower with crashes, and I fear we have a fair few of them. Now, unless they don't know they can just spawn back to the pits, I would probably advise Alex to spawn back to the pits at this rate, because I don't think that's helping anyone. And as they come towards the, I think it's just the fact that they're going so slowly is the reason why we're... Oh, Kevin McGlone's got off on track. Kevin McGlone, what is happening here? He's coming out of Druid. Oh, he spins the rear wheels. Again, I've done that in the wet in the G55. It's a really easy thing to do. Oh, it's gutting for Kevin, who's now just been overtaken by Martin Thomas and Anthony Mott as well. So he's down in 10th place, and he's got John Newell about 51 seconds back, granted. He won't be struggling too much to keep John behind him in 11th place, but he's not having the end of the race that he was hoping, I'm sure. Martin Thomas and Anthony Mott, though, they're nice and close to each other, aren't they? So Anthony, we think he's got a little bit of damage on board because he's really slow in the straights, and he just seems to be slow out of every single corner. So it's quite impressive, the fact that he's actually still in 8th place. Martin Thomas is hunting that 8th place down, though, with Adventures, isn't he? And if this is a move around Clark Curve, and that's Alex Martin, he's parked on the apex. Oh, my days. I don't know what... Yeah, Anthony Mott is no longer, into the pits after a huge crash. Huge crash, I think. Martin Thomas ends up with the 7th place, but it's not ideal, is it? We are on the white flag lap now, and I just want to have a look. This is Christian Wafer having an off. Let's have a look here. This is the Martin Thomas, Anthony Mott debacle. I don't think there was any incident there, but Anthony was coming into the pits because his car was broken. I think he may have got the orange flag, and I thought there was a huge incident with Alex Martin there, but not to be. But it is the white flag lap now, and we have to focus on our race leader by 16 seconds in the end from Alec Westbrook, who has gained 4 positions. So John Westbrooks has an incident. We'll be trying to find out what happened to them in a couple of minutes. In fact, just before we see Barry Rabbit taking the lead. Oh, straight into the back. Oh, dear. Well, let's cut back to Barry Rabbit after seeing what happened to John Westbrook. It is going to be a checkered flag going the way of the pole sitter for race number 2. The 7-Up machine has managed to get the race start nice and clean, and he'll be popping a nice fizzy on the top step of the podium. Not champagne, of course, but 7-Up to bring the bubbles there tonight. Apologies. As we see Alec Westbrook in the Tom and Jerry car, coming across the line to take second place. Paul Wafer is that far behind. He hasn't even started. Well, he is just about starting the GP loop. And this is the bottom step of the podium. 50-odd seconds behind. 53 seconds behind, I believe. So, a very sort of distanced, socially distanced race, I think, in terms of overall positions. As he's letting a few cars go through as well. Obviously, none of these are for track position necessarily. And in fact, I tell you what, I think he's so far back. He's so far away from Alec and Barry Rabbit that actually the driver behind him is Kevin McGlone. Then the driver behind him, physically out on track, is actually our race winner, Barry Rabbit, who will pretty much have completed an entire lap by the time Kevin McGlone comes across to take third place. Paul Wafer comes across the line to take third place overall. So, now they're all going for a bit of a warm-up, we'll be able to bring you the Race 1 results, which we didn't get to run through because Race 2 came so damn quickly. It is superb on board. You're absolutely right, Damo. Alec Westbrook took the overall victory for Heat 1 here this evening with Nick Phelps in second place. John Newell was in third and Mark Hoskin in fourth. And now, all of a sudden, they're the only three drivers that didn't get lapped. John Westbrook was rounding out the top five with Barry Rabbit in sixth place. Remember the name. Michael Tucker in seventh. Martin Thomas in eighth. Montgomery in ninth. Christian Wafer in 10th. Max Hunton 11th. Anthony Mott in 12th. Paul Black in 13th. James Kell, a driver we didn't see in the second race. So it'll be interesting to see where he finished in the second race. He finished in 14th in the first. Clive Bailey in 15th with Matt Dick in 16th. Paul Wafer 17th. And Kevin McGlone in 18th place. 19th was Richard Abra. Adam Hayes was 20th. David Harrison 21st with Chris Knox in 22nd. 23rd was Mark White. 24th was Alex Martin. And Albert Veyer didn't actually start, I don't think. Katie Eames, thank you very much for the like on the stream. So that was the first race. Second race of the evening looks like this. Well, look like that anyway. Barry Rabbit took the overall victory, 17 seconds ahead of Alec Westbrook. Paul Wafer finished 1 minute and 13 seconds behind Barry Rabbit at the end of that race. However, after that, they were the only three drivers to finish on the lead lap. Remember, in race 1, there was only 4 drivers to lead on the race 1. Well, here it gets a little bit worse. Max Hunt was in 4th place with Clive Bailey in 5th. Adam Hayes in 6th with Martin Thomas 7th. Kevin McGlone in 8th with Anthony Mott in 9th. And rounding out the top 10 was John Newell. Mark Holskin 11th. John Westbrook was in 12th. Mark White in 13th with Mike Tucker 14th. Matt Dickens 15th. Andy Montgomery in 16th. David Harrison is 17th. 18th was Christian Wafer. Thank you very much, Katie, for the share as well. 19th, Alex Martin. 20th, Nick Phelps. Chris Knox in 21st. Rich Abra in 22nd. Paul Black 23rd. 24th in the end was James Kell, who didn't actually get past the first lap. And then 25th was Albert Veyer, who didn't start the race again. Be rude not to share as well. It absolutely would, Katie. Thank you very much for doing both. Right. We've got potentially a few drivers in the interview waiting. Well, let's have a look and see if we've got anybody in the interview waiting room. In fact, no, we've already got drivers in the comms box. And, well, you joined silently there, boys. But Chris Knox, welcome to the comms box. It's been an eventful evening, hasn't it, so far?
Yeah, lots of damage so far. That's all I can say.
Well, that absolutely was a lot of damage, wasn't it? And do you put that anywhere down towards the sort of area of maybe the car being changed? Because obviously we're used to GT3 Ferrari, aren't we? And then all of a sudden we go open wheel racing. It's a little bit of a different beast.
Yeah, I mean, I don't think people were getting bored of the 488, but I think it was just like a change up for 1 week, have a bit of fun, and yeah, the F3 car was the one that came out on top on the pole, and yeah, it's been a fun change, but it's providing challenging. Well, obviously everyone's been practicing and no one's raced them yet, so they remove wheels a lot easier than a GT3 car.
Well, that's the thing, isn't it? It's not just about getting round the circuit in one of these cars, which is difficult enough. It's actually then, as soon as you start putting cars together, you with a race start and everything, we've seen a lot of people spinning up the rear wheels. And to be honest, your onboard. Let's go on to your onboard, because we did have a look at it of your start from race number 2. How on earth have you got through? Have you bought any lottery tickets yet? Because that was some sensational luck you had there. Good driving as well, don't get me wrong, but I mean, you've got to admit there's a bit of luck in there.
Yeah, I've no idea how I got through that, because I started work at 3 o'clock this morning and didn't get in until about 5 minutes before qualifying, so I'm absolutely shattered. And yeah, I have no idea how that happened. It was pure luck.
Well,
I think it was 20 seconds of 4th or something before Druids.
Yes, there was, I think, 30. In the first race, it was 12th to 25th were all in the pits before the first corner. In the second race, it was 13th to 25th in the pits before the first corner. So, yeah, maybe a little bit of work needs to be done on the racecraft in these cars, potentially. But, no, well, Chris, we won't keep you any longer. You can have a little quick power nap between each race if you want now, since you've been getting up at 3 a.m. That's madness. But congratulations on...
Hopefully I don't get taken out by a back marker for a second time.
Yeah, that would be preferable. Good luck for the third race. Is there anybody you'd like to give a shout out to, actually? Almost forgot.
Oh, Barry for setting up the session, actually, because I was still on my way back from the north of Scotland, and I didn't obviously have time to do it. So cheers, Barry, for getting the session going.
Curious, actually, what on earth were you doing from Scotland that had you up at 3 in the morning?
Just a van job that I just started at the start of the week, so back out
enough.
on the road again.
On the road as usual. So yeah, well, thank you very much, Chris Knox, and we'll be letting you get into the third race, and good luck.
Cheers, see you guys.
Now we have in the comments box as well a driver who on Discord goes by the name of Slow Harry. Slow Harry, you're going to have to introduce yourself properly, I think, because I don't know what your real name is. Well, I'm guessing it's Harry. Harry, are you there?
I don't think he's there.
I don't think he is here. No, so I'll let you two get back. I'll put him back into the general voice chat, and we'll be going for a very quick break, just while these drivers are going to the toilet and doing what they need to do, and we'll be back in a couple of minutes. And apparently we're going straight into the next race. We're supposed to have 15 minutes, but by the looks of it, we're getting... apparently we're already racing... Oh, I don't know what's going on here. Apologies, we seem to be in a constant state of replay, but also we're supposed to have 15 minutes. We'll be back in a couple of seconds. And we are back. Apologies about that. I was told 15 minutes we would have, and we had about 8. So apologies about that. It looks like Alec Westbrook has gained 8 positions to be in the lead of this race. And it's no surprise to say that more than half the field are currently in the pits as well. So that is a big shame for these drivers. Again, we'll be able to try and have a look at what's cracking on in a minute. But there's another spinner and more contact. Unfortunately, as Anthony Mott drives in, I have to say, if I was probably advising maybe what's going to be going on next week, I would say maybe switching to a slightly different car. Just because I think that maybe the Dallara is not quite the one without a little bit more practice and racecraft in some more online races and practicing by the looks of it. Barry Rabbit's up 8 positions out to take 2nd place, just ahead of Chris Knox. So we'll keep an eye on these guys, because we could actually be seeing a really good battle here. But here's the green flag. Now, this is Barry Rabbit's shot of the green flag. He gets a good start. Heads down towards Panic Hill Bend. Doesn't seem to be too much going on. In fact, that's very clean for what we're used to here. And then Anthony Mott has a crash, and then a few other drivers have a crash in the background. Going up towards Druids. And it looks like everything's a little bit cleaner there. No, Druids is where the big incidents happen, I think, and yet more people are getting collected and everything. So we got a little bit further than last time. A bit of a shame, though, we've ended up as we are here now. But, you know, each their own. Chris Knox, though, in 3rd place. As I said, he has got a good run on Barry Rabbit here. And, well, we had a good onboard last time. That worked quite well. So let's see if we can do it again. Chris Knox, look at him, hunkered up behind the back of the 7-Up machine. Obviously a race 1 winner, but he goes wide at the exit of Hawthorns. So easy to do, it's such a scary corner. You should try doing it in real life, it's terrifying. And, you know, all you do is basically come off the throttle, maybe dab a brake, depending on the car, maybe even shift down a gear, but you throw as much speed in there as possible. Because the car will stick, but there is no room for error on the exit. Chris Knox gets away with it nicely, to be fair. And himself now and Barry Rabbit. Oh, looks like he hooked up Clark a bit nicer than Barry, but he ended up smashing the curb a little bit too hard, and that is that's not aided him, put it that way. Going through Clark, both of them hit the curb. Barry looked like he was almost switching the back end there, but caught it nicely going into the corner. And who's that ahead? I think it's one of the back markers. Luckily gets out of the way of both of them. Through Druids into Graham Hill. Barry just touching the exit there on the entry. Outside curbing on the entry. As they go through into Surtees now. It looks like Chris has got a really good habit on the brakes in this car. He runs very nicely through Surtees. Now this is really the only opportunity he can have for a slipstream, isn't it? As he now hunkers up to the back of him. And look at that, already going defensive into Hawthorns. He knows Barry Rabbit that all he needs to do is place his car about half a width away from the racing line just to defend that corner, but he runs wide. Oh, and I thought Chris Knox was going to go straight into the back of him then, but he had to just come off the throttle there. Barry Rabbit came off it so much. nicely ran to the white line, and these two are really giving us a fantastic spectacle of racing here. And as we've had an entire lap and a half now on board with Chris Knox, we'll go back to the TV cams and see what's happening from a little bit further out. Really fascinating stuff here. It's just great racing between these two. It's exactly what we've been hoping for at the time of this race. Tell you what, Alec Westbrook is going for yet another podium position. Not only that, another race win as well at the top of the order at the moment. 5.5 seconds. Speaking of 5.5, we're 5.5 minutes in of this feature race. Third and final race of the evening with 15 minutes in total for each and every race. We've had some good racing. We've had some spectacular crashes. And unfortunately, it's probably been the story of this this experiment, and we'll see if they decide to go and carry on with it going forward. I would be slightly surprised, if I'm being honest, because I don't imagine that a lot of people have particularly enjoyed their outing in the Dallara. It is a very difficult to drive. If you've ever driven on the F1 games or anything like that, it's nothing like that. It's a lot less sort of turn and stick. There's probably a lot less aero going on with it. It's slightly simple. But in terms of racing, it's actually very difficult, as Barry Rabbit is now hunkered up behind a Mark Hoskin. A back marker, Hoskin moves out of the way of both of these drivers coming through. That's very well done of Hoskin. And Knox loads the curb up. Let's see if there's anything else cracking on. Just while we bat away from this drive for the moment, it's Anthony Mott chasing down Clive Bailey in the Red Bull machine. Anthony in the Excite-mobile, obviously branded up his own esports team, the Excite cars. I've covered a fair few of them in MX-5s and Porsches throughout the... how long have I been doing this for now? A year or so? Maybe slightly less, 11 months? It's been lovely to have them all on board in the streams, though, because they're often very friendly guys, and they're very quick drivers as well. And indeed, as I mentioned in the first couple of races, actually, that Anthony Mott was one of the drivers that was ended up in the top of the timing tower in practice. So a clearly very quick and capable driver. Maybe just hasn't had the look that he was hoping for. And to be honest, haven't seen him before in the Excite cars. Maybe he's a bit of an open wheel specialist for this team. This battle is starting to heat up again, though, isn't it? As I said, Alec Westbrook is the driver who's at the front of the field. Now, John Westbrook's all the way down in 18th position. James Kell is in 23rd and didn't even bother taking the third race, so maybe he was a bit fed up of the Dallara as well. In fact, 3 drivers haven't taken the green flag. James Kell, Albert Vea, who hasn't taken the green flag all evening, to be fair, and Richard Abra, who is clearly ducked out this evening as well later in the day. Looking around the outside through Druid is Chris. It's not happening, is it? Rabbit is keeping himself nicely tucked into the defensive line. Remember, Rabbit is an experienced real-life driver. And Chris, I think he has done some real-life racing. Well, I'm not entirely sure what in. He'll have to let me know, because that's something that I'm ashamed to say. I'm not actually sure I know much about for his real-life track excursions. But it's always nice to have a chat to these drivers and actually ask what their real-life excursion of racing is, whether it's just they're a fan of it, or whether they got into sim racing because a family member told them to, or just because of lockdown, or whether they go on track days, or they've actually raced in real life before, because a lot of drivers that we are featuring here are drivers that are featured in real-life racing. But we just haven't really necessarily seen them in the likes of the British Touring Cars, or the British GT, or indeed sort of further afield than that. So just haven't come up too much on the radar, but it's always nice. There's loads of club races out there, and they all like to get involved in sim racing as well. That is Montgomery that these two drivers are now passing to lap. We are, of course, already into the final 5.5 minutes of this race, and a bit of a shame that we came in so late, because it was a... oh, Chris! Hold on to that rear end, dear boy. You don't want to be spinning out in Druid like that. Like I was saying, it was a bit of a shame that we came in so late, because it was a bit of a... as I said, normally we have a 10-15 minutes, but we seem to cut straight to the grid without anybody telling me, unfortunately. So, yeah, interesting one so far. But Barry, I think, I don't know about you guys at home, but I think Barry Rabbit's actually got a little bit more defending to do before the end of this race. Chris has got a lot of pace underneath his F3, and he hasn't yet withstood any painful damage, which is obviously what he was hoping wouldn't happen again. And if you want to have a look at the drivers on the track map up there's the positions for you at the moment. Two tenths in it now for these two drivers, and we sort of have to keep focusing on them. I'd love to have a look at Martin Thomas and Anthony Mott as well. And in fact, maybe we'll just quickly dive to them and see how close these guys are as they're going towards Clark Curve. So it's difficult to see. And also White and McLeod. So all of a sudden we've had pretty much no battles really this evening that have withstood the test of time. And all of a sudden we've got 2 or 3. As these are the highest placed ones, we will just jump to them for now. And as we're going towards the sort of back straight-ish, obviously it's probably the best opportunity for an overtake towards Hawthorns, but again, Barry Rabbit knowing exactly where to place his car. Can't really do much. He can't dive up the inside of someone there as Chris Knox flies too much speed around the outside. And he's struggling, isn't he? He's throwing everything in this Brantown circuit. He's just hoping that something will end up sticking, but it's not happening quite yet. He runs very close to the white line. He's cutting all the way back, and there's contact. There's a massive amount of contact, and that's such a shame because both of these drivers are doing so well and giving us such fantastic racing as well. Well, it does give us an excuse to go back to Anthony Mott and Martin Thomas, who have actually changed positions, and we can see how that happened here. And Mott, oh, he gets a bit squirrely, doesn't he? Coming out of Surtees, and that is how Anthony Mott just nicely drives past. Oh, it's such a shame. Let's see if we can find out what... I mean, find out. We saw it, obviously, but... Let's slow it down and just go roll bar with Chris Knox. And, yeah, just straight into the back. Wasn't braking early enough. Maybe he was going in too quickly. Oh, that's absolutely gutting because, as I said, they were providing us with some awesome action. And it's not even that long to go before we finish the race either, so it's not like they can try and claw their way back. A driver we haven't featured at all in this race, though, is in the lead of this race. So he is... Oh! As I was about to say that, I thought he was about to throw it off into the tyre wall, but not to be. 12.5 minutes gone. This will be the penultimate lap, I imagine. We'll have the white flag come out potentially on the next one. I could be wrong, actually. We might get 2 more laps out of this one. Alec Westbrook won't mind, though, because John Newell, who is in 2nd place, is actually in the pits. So John Newell has had an off track and spawned himself back to the pits. And what's happening here with him? Oh, Anthony Mott's taking him out and taking his tyres out as well. The damage model on these cars seriously doesn't like the tyres being attached to the car. So unfortunately, John Newell, who inherited 2nd place, has now had to give it up thanks to the fact that he's in the pits with Andy Montgomery. Currently in 2nd place, a lap down. So amazingly, we've had in the first race only the top 4 were on the lead lap. In the 2nd race, only the top 3 were on the lead lap. Well, in the 3rd race, it looks like only 1st place will be on the lead lap. 1 driver on the entirety of the lead lap is something quite incredible. Christian Wafer, who's he got around him then? That's John Westbrook just ahead. Now this is actually track position with Christian Waver's not going to catch him with a snap oversteer like that. Coming out of Druid and the Aston Martin driver of John Westbrook. I'm not sure if he does actually drive for Aston Martin, but his car certainly looks like he does. In the new look F1 Racing Point. For those of you who aren't necessarily up to speed with F1 shenanigans, this is what the new Aston Martin looks like. Obviously, Aston Martin replaced Racing Point, who replaced Force India, and before that, well, it goes on and on, but you get what I mean. Alec Westbrook has started the final lap of the race. Montgomery is coming across the line now. He's 0.6 of a second ahead of Mark Hoskins, who all of a sudden have both started fighting for podium positions. Andy has gained 14 places so far to get into 2nd place. Mark Hoskins gained 8 places to get into 3rd place. As another driver has gone off there, I think that was Alex Martin. coming out of Druids. And look at this, Hoskin up the inside, going into Surtees of Montgomery. Montgomery tries to tuck back together. Come back. Oh, Hoskin was sliding. Montgomery, and they've merged. Oh, they need to get off the racing line. Need to get off the racing line, boys. Oh, my days. How are people not getting past? Or how are people getting past? Just get yourselves back to the pits. Where's he reversing to? Oh, no. Okay, well, let's have a look at Alec Westbrook round out the final couple of corners to take the checkered flag for what is, I believe, the second time this evening. And the third race victory. He can slow up. He's got a full lap in the advantage of everybody else. And all of a sudden, Max Hunt looks like he's going to be your podium position. Second place here with Mike Tucker, who will end up coming home probably in third. I have to say probably, because obviously we're not entirely sure. I think the majority of this grid are all in the pits and haven't bothered making it past about 8 or 9 laps. Some people probably are on a time limit. But as Max Hunt comes across, he takes second place, with Mike Tucker coming along in third. And, well, everybody else will be crossing the line as soon as they can. Anthony Mott ended up in 5th place. Now, if this is a championship, he may well end up with a penalty, but obviously it's not really a championship. So, I imagine he'll be pretty safe sailing. But, well, give us your thoughts on that evening. Do you like the Dallara? Do you hope it stays? Do you want to see them go back to the GT3 potentially? Maybe in a different GT3, maybe in a GT4. Maybe have a bash in the MX-5s considering they're free, or something completely different. We'll see. Maybe even a little bit of NASCAR. Now, that would be chaotic. So, as we're waiting for everybody to come across the line to then bring you the third result of the evening, and in fact, we can do that now. So, Alec Westbrook took the first place in the third race of the evening, and as I was saying, in the actual race, the only driver out of 25 to finish on the lead lap was Alec Westbrook. He lapped everybody, but including Max Hunt in second place, Mike Tucker rounding out the podium, Clive Bailey in fourth, Anthony Mott rounding out the top 5, John Newell 6th, Mark White 7th, McGlone in 8th, Dickens 9th, and Montgomery in 10th. Hoskin was 11th with Thomas in 12th, John Westbrook in 13th place, Christian Wafer 14th, Paul Black in 15th, Paul Wafer 16th, Adam Hayes in 17th, and Barry Rabbit in 18th. 19th was Chris Knox in the end after making contact with Barry Rabbit. Alexander Martin was in 20th, Nick Phelps in 21st, David Harris in 22nd, Richard Abra didn't take the green flag, neither did James Kell or Albert Veyer. Decent racing in F3 cars, shame about the couple of incidents, Casey says. It is a shame. As I said, I'd be slightly surprised if we do end up keeping the F3. But who knows? Maybe we'll get there maybe one day. I hope everybody's enjoyed it. We're just waiting to see if a few drivers want to jump into the interview waiting room and have a chat to us. Hopefully they'll have names on the Discord that I can associate with the drivers out on track. Some of them don't have their sort of regular name. They have maybe their nicknames or maybe their usernames that they created in Discord. So yeah, we'll see if we can bring in anybody. And I will have to say, actually, a bit of an apology is that we aren't streaming on here that much at the moment on Jacko Racing. There's not much content going out, and to be honest, it's because we're so busy working on other things with other companies that we aren't really sort of been able to stream on this channel. It's amazing, really. I used to do so much on this channel, and used to try and get as many broadcasts as possible. But since sort of moving my way up in broadcasting and commentary, obviously you end up doing things on company channels and using or customer channels rather than my own. So it's brilliant to have everybody still sticking around. The good news The good news is the fact that we will be back with content on the channel sooner rather than later, because basically what you can see around me is my office. Now, my office is extremely tight and small. I've got monitors everywhere. I would show you. It's not clean, and unfortunately, with the new puppy that we got at Christmas, I can't have him in the room because there's too many wires, there's too many things he can swallow, and he's teething at the moment. However, I am getting my garage converted into an office, a sort of summer roomy office. I just realised my curls are looking a bit weird. Can't wait to get my haircut. We are getting that converted into a sort of office, so with any luck, the puppy will be able to be in there with me. He'll be able to play in his half of the room, and then I'll have my setup and everything in the other half, so I can stream, I can play, I can record, I can edit videos, all while looking after the puppy, because my girlfriend has to work during the day, so it's my responsibility to look after the dog during the day, because she does it at night when I'm doing this, as you can imagine. That's how we work it. So that is what we're planning on doing with Jacko Racing, and with any luck, in fact, there we go. We've got a few drivers in the interview waiting room, so I'll jump you back to the main screen, and we'll have a chat to a few drivers. Chris, welcome back to the commentary booth. That race looked like it was going a little bit better for you, but it wasn't quite to be in the end.
No, it was quite frustrating. The setup on the car, literally, you hit the rev limiter on clean air, so anytime I was in a draft, I couldn't get near him. So I had to obviously attack on the brakes, and then I got a run through Dingle Dell and thought he was still defending, and yeah, he came across on the right hand side, and I kind of couldn't stop. So it was a shame because I was really enjoying that battle, but yeah, it was my fault really. I should have expected him to break earlier, and yeah, kind of chickened both of us out really.
Yeah, it was a bit of a shame, and well, I mean, we asked you a little bit before. Do you think the F3 is going to be sticking around?
I'm not sure. I quite like driving it, but it as you can see, it produces a lot of chaos, which must be interesting for you to commentate on when there's 15 cars sat in the pit lane.
It makes it slightly tricky. It also makes it tricky when the third race just starts out of nowhere as well. That was a bit of a surprise for us, but no, I mean, we make it work, don't we? We make it work. So I mean, where are we off to next then, Chris?
No idea. There'll be a vote shortly. As far as I'm aware, next week is going to be open GT3s, so I guess 7 GT3s to choose from. So that should make things a bit more interesting next week.
Yeah, definitely. I'm guessing open setup then as well.
Not sure. I might have a play if I have time on the baselines and sort of make sure they're all in the ballpark, because I don't know what iRacing's done with them since the season update. But feeling that, yeah, it'll be open setup. But I guess that'll obviously give some people an advantage and some of the new guys a disadvantage. So we'll have a chat about it and decide sooner than later, really.
Well, I look forward to seeing it regardless. Chris, I will let you go. Is there anybody apart from the drivers you've already shouted out that you'd like to give a quick shout out to? Because we always ask, and you come in twice, we might as well ask twice.
No one really. Just looking forward to getting some sleep. Really.
Well, you go off, Chris, and you get some sleep. Well deserved.
Cheers, Jacob. Bye.
Bye. And that was Chris Knox. Now we're going to bring in one more driver. A driver who often likes to come and have a chat with us, and it's Irish Kevin McGlone. How are you doing tonight?
Hey, how's it going? In need of a few spare parts, I think.
I was going to say, you kept your pit lane, well, it's not just you. Everyone kept the pit lane busy, didn't they? It's what's your thoughts? We'll go straight into it. What are your thoughts on the Dallara after that one?
The car, it understeers a little on turn-in. It's very fragile, but I think if we persevered, I think it would be quite good.
Well, I mean, obviously there was a lot of incident, wasn't there, before even the first corner sort of thing. Is that just the nature of switching to open wheel after you were doing sort of tin top racing with a GT3?
Yeah, well, I think the conversation came up for a lot of us sitting on the grid. How do you launch these things? And based on that, you know, it starts to be, well, you can't dump the clutch, and what are you doing with cold tires? And they are very fragile. So I think today was a learning curve.
Yeah, I was going to say, it's one thing, isn't it? Like, getting this car around the track quickly, doing practice on your own and all that sort of thing. As soon as you don't actually get to start a race, do you? Until you're sat there in the real-life grids, or not real-life, but ready to go on the actual night. And then all of a sudden you realise, what are they like on cold tyres? What are you like getting off the line? It's a bit of a scary thought.
Yeah, less is more getting off the line. Cold tires, just like anything in iRacing doesn't accommodate the first lap very well. So really and truly, we should all be giving it a little less than we are. As was evident in my own manoeuvre on the third race, where I went into Druids thinking I've got this, and then spun out like it was my first race in iRacing. I'd no one else to blame myself, and unfortunately, I took part in that in the process. But yeah, I've got to be honest with you. It's a good car. It's fast. It's a little bit dull on the front end. I expected to have a bit more grip and turn in than it actually has. But I'd say once you start to get the better of it, it could be a really good thing. It definitely feels quicker than the 488s, but nowhere near as robust. So we'll see what next week brings. I think we'll do another race to it at least. I think there'll be an increased awareness of getting off the line and your neighbours around you on the grid. I think there'll be a little less bump and shove. We'll see.
Well, we were just chatting to Chris, and he seems to be thinking that the rumours are that you're going to be Open GT3 next week.
Well, that could be a good idea as well. I'm always open to a little bit of Open GT3. It allows me to bring a setup in, and the settings we were running in the 488, I found the ABS was very intrusive, so I'd probably run a little less ABS personally. So I'm open for that.
Well, we'll see, won't we? I mean, you've got about 7 or 8 cars to choose from with the GT3s, and whether or not they try and BOP it, we'll see. But I'm sure it'll be, give us something new to watch, and obviously something for everybody else to have a little bit more of a play with.
Yeah, and I think there will be a BOP. We, as I said to you last week, we did a race on Friday evening behind closed doors. The Z4s walked away from the cars without without applying BOP. They were just, they shut off down the straights at Spa. If we go open standard GT3, I think that'll be an interesting challenge.
Yeah, well, absolutely. Well, we'll let you go, Kev. But is there anybody you'd like to give a quick shout out to before we let you?
As usual, I know they're listening, but I'm not going to mention them. So no.
Okay, fair enough. Fair enough. Well, Kev, thank you very much for joining us in the comms box, and good luck next time for maybe a little bit more luck out there.
Hey, look, it's always a pleasure speaking to you soon.
Speak to you soon. That was Kevin McGlone joining us in the comms box. Always nice to have a chat with a few of the drivers afterwards. And, we're going to sign ourselves off, I believe. Thank you very much for watching. We'll be back next Wednesday for some more action from the Pure GT social races. With any luck, there'll be, potentially GT3 cars, but fingers crossed, maybe a little bit more consistent running as well. Thanks for the likes, thanks for the comments, but be sure, if you haven't done already, to smash a like, if you haven't, and also subscribe or follow. Thank you very much for watching, and we'll be back next week. Bye! I need to feel where the stop streaming button is.